Imagine this. It's early morning. Everything is still. You're awake, but not fully present. A thought slowly rises inside you. Maybe I'm just not enough. Maybe I've messed things up. Maybe I'm too far gone. But you are not broken. You are not a failure. Your brain is simply using an old operating system. Thousands of years ago, your brain evolved to help you survive, not to help you thrive. It was designed to keep you alert, afraid, cautious, and constantly scanning for danger. A rustling in the bushes back then might have meant a predator. A raised voice might have signaled real threat. So your brain became wired to notice what's wrong, not what's right. Now fast forward to today. The world has changed, but your brain's default settings haven't. Domain. That voice that tells you you're not good enough, that's not your truth. That's your survival software reacting. It's trying to protect you from emotional harm, rejection, failure, even if it means keeping you stuck. So what you need is not to fix yourself. You need to upgrade the system. Neuroscience calls it neuroplasticity, your brain's ability to rewire itself based on what you focus on, repeat, and believe. And it begins with awareness. You are not your thoughts. You are the one noticing them. You can begin by gently observing your inner patterns, the loops of self-criticism, the moments of hesitation, the emotional shutdowns, not to judge them, but to understand them. Every reaction has a reason. And once you understand the reason, you can begin to rewire the response. Just like a phone app that needs updating to function better, your brain is waiting for new instructions. When you tell yourself, I'm safe, I'm learning, I'm allowed to grow, you are beginning the upgrade. Change doesn't require perfection. It only asks for intention. And intention begins with a decision to stop believing that you are broken, to start believing that you are evolving. And when you begin to see yourself with kindness, you'll be ready to change the lens you use to see the world. Your mind is not a mirror of reality. It's a filter. It doesn't just show you the world. It shapes what you see. Think of it like a pair of tinted glasses. If you wear gray lenses, everything looks dull. If you switch to golden lenses, the same world feels warmer. The outer world didn't change. Your filter did. Your mind works the same way. It takes in millions of pieces of information every second, but it doesn't show you everything. It only shows what you've trained it to look for. That filter has a name. The reticular activating system, or RAS. If you constantly tell yourself, I'm not enough, your RAS will show you proof. The disapproving glance, the missed opportunity, the one mistake. But if you start saying, I'm growing, your brain begins to spot growth. It begins to shift its focus. You can retrain your filter through intention. Try this simple practice. Choose a symbol, like a heart. Each day, look for that symbol wherever you go. Each time you spot it, pause and acknowledge something good. You're not just spotting shapes, you're rewiring your focus. Or ask better questions. Instead of, why is this happening to me? Ask, what is this teaching me? Instead of, what if I fail? Ask, what if this works out better than I imagined? The questions you ask shape the reality your mind constructs. This isn't about pretending everything is fine. It's about realizing that your perception is a choice. You can see the shadows, or you can look for the light. Both exist. You get to choose which one you walk toward. So if you've been staring at the wrong lens for too long, the lens of fear, shame, scarcity, know that today you can choose a new one. And when you do, the next thing you say to yourself will become even more powerful. Because words aren't magic. They're rewiring. Affirmations are not spells. They won't make your problems vanish. They're not about faking it until you make it. They're about reprogramming your internal narrative. Every thought you think carves a path in your brain. Think it once, and it's like a scratch. Think it often, and it becomes a trail. Repeat it daily, and it turns into a highway. That's how beliefs are built. And affirmations, if repeated with sincerity, help you build new highways. But they must feel true, or at least possible. Saying I'm a millionaire when you're struggling to pay rent may feel like a lie. But saying I'm learning to manage my money is empowering and believable. The goal is to stretch your identity, not to snap it. Use affirmations that are grounded in present truth. I'm healing. I'm allowed to grow. I'm safe to try again. Speak them in the morning when your mind is soft. Whisper them when you feel shaky. Repeat them like seeds, not demands. A woman once shared that her affirmation was simple. I'm learning to love myself, even when I don't know how. She said it every morning. At first, it felt strange, but after weeks, something shifted. Not outside, but inside. She stood taller. She paused less when speaking. She began saying no to what drained her. That's the real power of affirmation. It doesn't change your world. It changes how you enter it. And that subtle difference shifts everything. Because once you start believing in your worth, your focus changes. And whatever you focus on expands. There is a quiet truth that many overlook. Whatever you focus on expands. If you constantly focus on what is lacking, you will see more of what is missing. If you focus on pain, your world feels heavier. If you choose to focus on small moments of beauty, of hope, of possibility, your mind begins to soften. And suddenly, life feels different. Not because life has changed, but because your attention has. Your mind is like a spotlight. Wherever you point it, that thing becomes bigger, brighter, more real. Imagine being in a room. In that room, there is both light and shadow, music and silence, beauty and brokenness. You do not experience the whole room at once. You only experience the part you are paying attention to. So, if you constantly dwell on stress, your body tenses. If you dwell on gratitude, your shoulders relax. If you focus on growth, your choices align with expansion. This is not magic. This is biology. The brain is not built to process everything equally. It prioritizes what you tell it matters most, and it listens closely to repetition. What you repeat becomes what you remember. What you remember becomes what you believe. And what you believe becomes how you live. You can use this truth to your advantage. Start by noticing what you notice. Do you always see what is wrong before you see what is right? Do you dismiss the good as luck, but accept the bad as fact? Then, it might be time to adjust your focus. Try this. At the end of each day, write down 3 things that went well. Not big things, just small wins. A conversation that made you smile. A task you finished. A moment when you were present. This practice rewires your brain to seek what is working instead of what is broken. There was once a man who had lost his job. His days felt heavy. Every morning he woke up with dread. But instead of spiraling, he began a simple ritual. Each night, he wrote down one thing he was grateful for. At first, it was hard. His brain resisted, but slowly it shifted. He noticed the way the sunlight warmed the kitchen table. He appreciated how his dog greeted him like nothing else mattered. After a few weeks, he started taking action again, applying for jobs, learning new skills. Not because everything was perfect, but because his mind had changed direction. That's the gift of focus. It gives you your power back, not over circumstances, but over perception. And from perception, action is born. When you focus on failure, you hesitate. When you focus on fear, you hide. But when you focus on progress, you move. Even if just one step, and one step is how everything begins. Remember, what you see is shaped by what you choose to look at. So if you want to change your life, Begin by changing what you magnify. Choose to look for the small evidence that life is not against you, that healing is underway, that you are already shifting. And as you continue, your dreams will no longer feel like distant finish lines. They will feel like paths beneath your feet, guiding you one quiet choice at a time. We often think of a dream as a place to arrive, a destination, a moment when everything comes together and finally makes sense. But a dream is not the end point. A dream is the compass. It points you forward. It gives your days a sense of movement. And the most beautiful part is this: even if you never arrive exactly where you imagined, the person you become along the way is the real reward. You may dream of writing a book, but the journey teaches you discipline, creativity, and courage. You may dream of building a business, but what you gain is resilience, focus, and self-trust. The dream is simply the reason you start walking. Sometimes, the dream changes shape. You think you are chasing success, and you find healing. You think you are chasing status, and you discover service. You think you want recognition, but what you needed all along was to see yourself clearly. When you see your dream as a fixed destination, it becomes fragile. Any detour feels like failure. Any delay feels like a defeat. But when you see your dream as a direction, every step becomes meaningful. Even the wrong turns, even the closed doors, even the heartbreaks, they become part of the unfolding. You are not here to reach one perfect outcome. You are here to evolve, to stretch, to grow into the kind of person who can live aligned with what matters most to you. Walt Disney was told he lacked imagination. Oprah was told she was unfit for television. J.K. Rowling was rejected again and again. They did not stop walking, because the dream was never just about the outcome. It was about becoming. Let your dream guide you, not judge you. Let it lift you, not shame you. Let it stretch you, not shrink you. You are allowed to adjust your path. You are allowed to begin again. You are allowed to grow into new desires. Because your dream is not a prison. It is a promise. A promise that says, there is more inside you than what the world has yet seen. So walk in that direction. Not with pressure, but with purpose. And as you walk, your actions will begin to reflect the beliefs that matter most. Because what you truly believe is not in what you say. It is in what you choose to do. Beliefs are not found in words. They are found in patterns. In what you do when no one is watching. In the choices you make when things get hard. In the way you treat yourself when no one is there to applaud you. You may say you believe in your worth, but if you constantly overwork, never rest, or always seek approval, there may still be a part of you that doubts. You may say you believe in your future, but if you avoid risks, silence your voice, or shrink in fear, then your actions are telling a different story. This is not something to feel ashamed of. This is something to get curious about. Your actions are mirrors. They show you where your healing still needs to happen, but they are also tools. You can use new actions to shape new beliefs. You do not have to wait until you fully believe in yourself to start. Sometimes, you act your way into a new belief. You take a small, brave step, and your brain begins to catch up. For example, if you want to believe you are worthy of love, you can begin by treating yourself with care. Cook yourself a nourishing meal. Say no to things that drain you. Spend time with people who make you feel seen. If you want to believe in your creativity, create something not for approval, but for joy. If you want to believe you are strong, take one courageous action each day. One call, one message, one decision. Each act becomes evidence, and enough evidence becomes identity. The question is not, what do you claim to believe? The question is, what are you proving to yourself with your daily actions? You can also reverse the process. Look at a habit you want to change. Ask, what belief is driving this? Then ask, what belief do I want to build instead? And what action would match that belief? It can be small. Consistency is more powerful than intensity. One step in a new direction repeated often is enough to shift your whole life. There was once a woman who told herself she was not creative. For years, she believed it. Until one day, she picked up a paintbrush, just for fun. Then she painted again the next week. She never became famous, but she did become free. She no longer said, "I am not creative," because her actions said otherwise. So take a look at your life, not to judge it, but to learn from it. If your actions are not aligned with the person you want to become, let that be your invitation. Not to change everything overnight, but to begin with one small, consistent, aligned step. And as you begin, you'll discover you can rewrite the script. You can flip the story you've been telling yourself for years and ask the question that opens every locked door. What if it actually works out? There's a voice inside you. Sometimes it whispers. Sometimes it shouts. It says, what if I fail? What if they reject me? What if it goes wrong? What if I'm not ready? And before you even begin, you stop. You play out every worst-case scenario in your head. You rehearse the fall before taking the first step. But what if, just for a moment, you flip the script? What if you asked a different question? What if it works out? What if this decision changes your life for the better? What if you are more ready than you think? What if everything you've been through has been preparing you for this exact moment? The human brain is wired to predict threat. It does not naturally imagine joy, ease, or success. It's not your fault. It's your biology. But you are not just your biology. You are the author of your story. And every story can be rewritten. You don't have to deny fear. You just have to stop letting fear write the ending. Try asking yourself, what would I do today if I knew things would go well? Who would I be if I believed in a favorable outcome? How would I speak, move, show up if I trusted the process? There was a woman who was terrified of speaking in public. Her hands would shake. Her voice would vanish. Until one day, she asked herself, what if someone in the audience needs to hear what I have to say? What if this moment could help someone feel less alone? And that thought pulled her forward. Not because the fear disappeared, but because hope got louder. This is the power of flipping the script. You don't erase the fear. You expand the possibility. You make space for a different ending. Each time you imagine a good outcome, you train your brain to allow it, to accept it as a valid path, to stop sabotaging it before it begins. This small mental shift changes the energy you bring into your life. You start making choices from hope instead of fear. You take action from curiosity instead of control. You lead with trust instead of doubt. So the next time your mind says, what if I mess up? Pause, take a breath, and ask, what if this turns out even better than I hoped? Then take one step in that direction. Because a new future doesn't require a perfect plan. It just needs a new question. Many people wait for motivation to begin. They wait to feel ready. Wait for the mood to strike. Wait for the spark of inspiration. And they keep waiting, while time passes, while ideas fade, while momentum dies. The truth is, motivation is not what gets you moving. Action is. And the key to consistent action is not willpower. It's ritual. Rituals are small, intentional habits that ground you, guide you, and gently carry you forward, even on the days when you feel tired, unsure, or uninspired. A ritual can be as simple as writing one sentence each morning, stretching for 2 minutes after getting out of bed, sitting in silence before you pick up your phone, speaking one kind word to yourself in the mirror. You don't need to feel good to do these things. You just need to make them non-negotiable, part of who you are. part of how you begin the day. James Clear once said, "You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems." And systems are built from rituals. People who seem disciplined are not always more motivated. They've just removed the friction between intention and action. They've built momentum through repetition. One man wanted to write a book, but every time he waited for motivation, he never started. So he made a simple commitment to write for 10 minutes at the same time each day. No pressure, no expectation, just presence. Within a year, he had a manuscript, not because he had constant inspiration, but because he had a ritual. Your life changes not when you feel like doing more. It changes when you create structure that supports your growth. So ask yourself, what simple practice can I begin today? What is one ritual that would move me closer to the life I want? Start small. Start gentle. Start now. Because once you have rituals that pull you forward, you no longer have to rely on unpredictable feelings. You show up, no matter what. And by showing up, you become the kind of person who doesn't wait for change. You create it. Even the smallest ritual, done consistently, becomes sacred. It becomes your anchor, your rhythm, your reminder that progress is not about intensity, but about devotion. And as you practice showing up for yourself, something powerful happens. You build trust. You build proof. You begin to believe that you are someone who follows through. And with that belief, you are ready to begin building small wins. Wins that become your foundation. Wins that lead to lasting transformation. When people imagine transformation, they often think of big moments, a breakthrough, a leap, a life-changing event. But real change rarely comes all at once. It begins with something small. So small, it almost feels insignificant. But when done consistently, it becomes the most powerful force in your life. Small wins are the seeds of big shifts. Getting out of bed 5 minutes earlier, choosing water over another coffee, saying one kind word to yourself, turning off the noise for one moment of stillness. These acts seem small, but they are not. Each time you follow through on a small win, you build trust with yourself. You prove that you can change, that you are changing. And this proof is the foundation of momentum. Neuroscience supports this. Each time you complete something, your brain releases dopamine, a chemical of motivation and reward. It says, "You did it. Do it again." This is how habits are born. There was a woman who felt overwhelmed and broken for years. She started her healing not with therapy, not with books, but with one act, making her bed. Every morning, no matter what. That one ritual gave her a sense of order, a sense of pride. From there, she added journaling. Then, exercise. Then, speaking up for herself. A new life was built one small win at a time. When you feel stuck or lost, don't try to rebuild your whole life in a day. Just win the morning. Just make the call. Just move your body. Just breathe. And keep a promise to yourself. Progress is not always visible, but it is always happening when you show up. Small wins also change how you see yourself. You no longer say, "I am someone who can't follow through." You start to believe, "I am someone who is growing. I am someone who is becoming." Let go of the pressure to make giant leaps. Fall in love with the daily steps, because the steps are what shape your story. And when you commit to those steps, something else happens. You begin to lead your mind instead of being led by it. Which brings us to the final shift, the reminder that your brain is not in charge of you. You are in charge of your brain. Your brain is powerful, but it is not the leader. It is the follower. It takes direction from the one who chooses with awareness, and that person is you. Most of the time, your brain is on autopilot. It runs old scripts, old fears, old beliefs that no longer serve you. But here is the truth. Your brain is waiting for instruction, waiting for leadership, waiting for a clear signal. When you are intentional, your brain becomes your ally. It begins to work for you, not against you. It starts scanning for evidence that supports your growth instead of your limitations. You can start leading your brain in very simple ways. Each morning, before you pick up your phone, sit still for 1 minute. Say silently, I choose the direction of my day. I choose presence. I choose clarity. Write down what matters to you, not what looks good to others, but what truly matters. Speak your intention, even if your voice shakes. Visualize the kind of person you are becoming. How do they walk? How do they respond to challenges? How do they treat themselves when they fall short? Then act in alignment, even if it feels small, because the brain does not change through thought alone. It changes through repetition and reinforcement. You are not at the mercy of your moods. You are not a victim of your patterns. You are the architect of your attention. And attention builds reality. A woman once shared that she spent years feeling like her thoughts were in control, until one day, she placed her hand on her heart each morning and said, I lead today. She repeated this for weeks, and something shifted. She began catching negative spirals earlier. She began choosing kindness faster, not because the thoughts disappeared, but because she no longer followed them blindly. You do not need to control every thought. You just need to notice which ones you follow and choose the ones that align with who you want to be. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to lead with presence, to guide your mind back when it wanders, to give yourself grace when you fall. And every time you do that, you strengthen the part of you that knows the way, the part that remembers your truth. So lead, even if it's quietly, even if it's just for today, because each day you lead your mind is a day you reshape your life. And when you look back, you'll realize the change didn't come all at once. It came from the small, steady decision to return to yourself. If you've come this far, then something inside you is shifting. Not because of the words, but because you've allowed yourself to feel something deeper. Something true, something ancient and quiet inside your own soul saying, yes, this is the way. The journey of healing, of transformation, of becoming, it doesn't start with big moves. It starts with awareness, with honesty, with a choice to stop waiting and start listening. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are not behind. You are exactly where you're meant to awaken. Your mind is not your enemy. It is your garden. And today, you've planted new seeds, a new lens to see with, new words to speak with, new actions to honor your truth, new questions that expand possibility, new rituals that create momentum, new wins that build confidence, new leadership from within, and most of all, a new relationship with yourself. You don't need to be perfect to begin. You just need to be willing to rise one more time, to forgive again, to keep walking, even when the road feels slow. Every small act of love, of focus, of belief, it adds up. And one day you will look around and see you are not the same, not because the world changed, but because you did. From the inside out, you trusted your journey. You honored your steps, and you chose to become the person you were always meant to be. So as you leave this moment, remember, you don't need more time. You don't need someone else to tell you you're ready. You don't need permission. The path is already beneath your feet. Now walk, and Let the world feel your quiet power. Not in your volume, but in your presence. In the way you live. In the way you lead yourself home.